and this is something I think we can all share, that normally the people did not accept certain changes, and it was brought to them from top down. For example, the so-called homosexual marriage was nothing the people's right for 3 decades ago. There was not a big amount of merit at all. Austria and other marriage. Actually, 90% of Austria, for example, 20 years ago, 90% of those, now we have it introduced by Catholics. Really very nice. So you understand the fight is very easy. How does it work? People are trying to tell you that sovereignty is something which is good to save, for example, your culture maybe and your people, but it has to end when it comes to things which are of big interest for all of us. So I give you the biggest example, climate change. It's a strange example, I know, and it sounds strange to talk about that in the Catholic surrounding, but it's very important. They now tell us that, for example, climate change is something which is so important that sovereignty of families or of national states and elected countries is not good enough anymore. They need the power to be passed on to a superior level. In Europe, it is the best example of the European Union, and then of course worldwide it's the United Nations. And to lead this fight from their point of view, they try to explain that this all is good for humanity. So they told us, for example, in Brazil, the Amazon rainforest is the lung of the world. If you talk about this with a scientist, he will say, no, it's not, because it's a rainforest, and rainforests normally re-aspirate the O2 they push out, so that's the reason they have so big amount of animals and plants living there. But I'm not a scientist, so I won't go into the details here. But so they told us 30 years ago, the Amazon is the lung of the world. Then you all had it in your history books, and I had it too in my history books, and my biology books and so on in school. And now everybody believes that's true. And now they go to the next step and say, and because we see the national government of the Amazon regions, the national governments, do not take care of them, we have to take this away of them. I can really give you a few examples. Al Gore said this 30 years ago. I have it somewhere here. It's really 30 years ago they talked about that. And in France right now, the president of France, and also the president 30 years ago, François Mitterrand, and so on, they all told us this. We did not recognize this. It is not something which was on our screen. We didn't see the Catholics, let's look at the Amazon. But right now, it comes to a point which is very interesting for us. Because they now tell us, in this Amazon region, there are guys living, and these guys are so connected to the regions that they have to be protected from the governments there, and of course from the traditional church. Because what they have is so unique, they understand everything so good and so well. So that's what we have to save right now. It sounds strange at the first view, because you see, okay, what are they talking about? I don't want to be racist, I think the indigenous living there, they are great humans too, I think, and I think lots of them very intelligent, others are maybe not that intelligent. It's the same with us actually. So I do not want to judge them at any cost, but what I see is they are used for something else. And this is on two levels. On the political one, on the one side, they say they live there, that's the reason we have to protect this Amazonian lung of the world with the indigenous people living there. And on the other side, on the religious perspective, say, they don't want celibacy, they don't want all of that, they want priests to be women too, women to be priests too. So you see that all the liberation theology agenda and all the anti-church agenda comes in using innocent people from the Amazon region. So now first we have to look at these people. I took the time to do a big research on them, and I saw that many of the Amazonians who live in the Amazon are actually opposed to this agenda. It's very interesting to see that there was an action going on where they collected signatures, and they got quite a lot of signatures in I think a few days. And I got tons of support when I tossed the Pachamama statues inside, when they told me, that's not something we do here in the Amazon. We are happy to be Christians actually. So what does happen there? I tell you now something about the Pachamamas. The Pachamama statue is something which is not used in the Amazon forest. You will by now have figured that out. It is something coming from the Andes actually. It's an Aztec kind of fertility goddess and Mother Earth goddess actually, which they brought back then even human sacrifices to it. So it is something clearly pagan and wrong. This was mixed with this they call it ecologic, as integral ecologic. This was mixed together with that, and they tried to build up a new syncretistic world religion. So this Pachamama should be the following. It should, for us Christian, it should be depicted as something which actually is quite Christian. For other religions, it's depicted as something which is actually quite other religion. I give you an example. When was the first Pachamama ritual, similar to the one in the Vatican Gardens, when did it happen first? Do you know this? In 2012, at the UNO Climate Summit in Paris. We have the proof of that. Since 2012, it was used, the term Mother Earth was used more than 20 times in official UN documents. And now I come to a quote from our beloved Holy Father 2 weeks before the Amazon Synod. I think it was about 2 weeks, maybe don't pin me down with that. Quote, when we acknowledge international organizations, we recognize the capacity to give judgment on a global scale. For example, the International Tribunal in The Hague or the United Nations. And now, please stand firm. If we consider ourselves members of humanity, it is our duty to obey them when they make statements. It sounds strange, but we, as Catholics, we all, I think most certainly will understand that, but the normal Catholic, he will not understand that. He will think, okay, he supports the United Nations because there's a good cause behind that. But if you look at what's happening here, it gives us, of course, a completely different view. He goes on and says, we must obey international institutions. That is why the United Nations were created, end quote. So, he says the United Nations were created for us to obey them. I now ask, of course, the Holy Church and all the representatives. I think the Church was not created to follow anything created on earth. She was created to follow only the one true God, our Father who is in heaven, with the Son and the Holy Ghost.
Amen.
We are Catholics. We are for the whole world to be led into heaven. This is the beauty of the Church. And yes, the Church should influence the world, but not the other way around. So what we see here is a huge problem. And this problem goes on, unfortunately. If you look closely on what happens right now, especially in Europe, and unfortunately I have to say, even though I love my home country, it's the most beautiful country in the world, maybe Texas, but unfortunately my cardinal, whom you all know, Cardinal Schönborn, he gave, since the Amazon Synod, he gives a speech kind of every day where he says something. He says, all the causes we have are so important. Every day he says another cause. Once he said pro-life, pro-family, and so on. So it sounds really firm and Catholic. And then he said, but the most important cause right now is to save the environment by following the UN Agenda 2030. And I'll give you an example of the UN Agenda 2030. The UN Agenda 2030 asks all of us to introduce free abortion in the whole world for every woman as a human right. If you read the Agenda 2030, you will not come to that conclusion because the UN works in a very difficult way, but you can come to that conclusion without any conspiracy theory. You have to read the paragraphs about women, sexual education and so on, then you will see we want to push that agenda like in the, for example, Peking as the Beijing Agreement. Then you have to look up the Beijing Agreement. I believe it's very difficult to look them all up and to find the original version. In the Beijing Agreement, there's, for example, one statement where they say every woman's right, is a human right. And then it says, under point, I think 17, it says that every woman has the right to have reproductive health as health care every day. We know what that means, but that's not enough for us. We have to be careful. We have to be very on spot. We have to really know what we talk about. So we have to look up how does the United Nations define reproductive rights, and then you go back all the meetings for the women, World Women Summit, World I don't know Summit, and then you go step by step. To have safe abortion is acknowledged as reproductive right. In the next segment it says reproductive rights are women's rights, in the next one it says women's rights are human rights, in the next one it says we have to support human rights all over the world. That's how it's done. And I want you all to know that, because you can research it by yourself without any conspiracy theory. I know within the Catholic circles of the last decades, many different theories ran around online forums and newspapers. And I understand why they ran around, because people were asking themselves questions. But I want you to know, forget this. You're a Catholic. You push away the modernist philosophy. Yeah, there is no made-up nature. The nature is real. Use your eyes, use your ears, use your skin, touch things, watch things, and listen to things, and just do the research by yourself. You can do it actually. Not every one of you has to be a researcher, but it's not magic. It's very easy. What does that show us? 100 years ago, if, let's say, the bad people wanted to introduce something bad, they normally did it in secret. I bring an example. Most of you won't know. But when our emperor, the last one, Blessed Charles, was kicked out of Austria, which was not a vote by the people. I want to repeat that very often. The Austrian people did not want him to abduct or something. They wanted him to keep being the emperor, but he was kicked out by other powers. He was visited in Switzerland by people, and he wrote it down in his diary. His wife, Sita, wrote it down in her diary, and he said, they asked him, yeah, Your Majesty, if you want to be in charge again, it's very easy. Please just care for having the divorce.
No fault divorce. No fault.
Allow divorce. And you know what he said? Of course, he went up to heaven. He said, I will never. Divorce is something bad. It's a sin. That's it. That was his answer. And now, even though the modernist conservative would say, why did he do that? Only this little, and he could have done so much good. No, he's in heaven. What he can do now is way higher than what he could have done on earth, lying to something God gave us as a duty. So it was the best decision actually. So right now I want to ask you all a few things. I already told many of you when talking to you privately. Right now there's a moment of decision. And a decision must not be a big public thing for all of you. Some of you will have very small decisions, and it's good, and some of you will have very big decisions. God knows why He gives you the cross you can carry. God knows that. Every cross of you is different, not because you're better or you're less worth, it's because God knows you better than anyone else knows you. But these decisions will come, these decisions will be. Is the company you're working for doing things which are good, as a Catholic, for example? Is it maybe the time to quit a job at a company where they ask you doing things which are bad? What are you doing in your spare time? Is going to football matches and Billy Bob's to watch Willie Nelson, which I really... Is this the only thing you should do? Isn't there a pro-life rally going on at the same time? Shouldn't you be there? Isn't there a pro-family fight going on at the same time? Shouldn't you be there? Isn't it your duty to know for whom you're voting, or what your vote is? Isn't it your duty to read through the things he writes down in his program before you vote? You all have these decisions to make. And so your life is not boring. Your life is actually it's exciting right now. And a time of decision is always a time of grace. Because grace comes whenever you ask God for His help, especially in difficult decisions. Grace comes also, of course, through the sacraments, but you all know, also receiving the sacraments is a decision, your decision to do that. It's your decision to go to confession, it's your decision to go to the Holy Mass, it's your decision to go to the Holy Communion. So all these things are decisions. And the modernists want to tell us, either there are no decisions, because the life is going on, and then you will die, and then nobody will remember you. That's one way, it's very ugly. I'm a Catholic,